Hello Redditors, welcome back to Tales Against Humanity. Now, let's get started. In today's episode,
The devil is in the details. I'm an IT consultant and often do support functions in different companies. This one is from the beginning of last year, an issue that kept recurring over a period of around 2 months. The company at that time was remodeling their offices, and during that time a part of the staff would be working from home, and a part would be working from another office in the same building that the company rented temporarily. Since this office was much smaller, not all work posts could be moved, and the access screens, docking stations, keyboards, etc. all went into boxes and were kept in a room in the new office designated as IT storage. In the second week, one of the girls working there comes to me with an issue. After her ZBook laptop installed a Windows update that morning, random characters would appear on screen when typing. I went with her, and indeed, a random group of characters were entered in a loop like QSDexDexDext. Immediately checked the keyboard, nothing resting on it, nothing on the keyboard of the laptop. Reboot fixed it for half an hour, then it was Iopiapopiopia. At that point I thought it was probably a bad keyboard, as those letters are on opposite sides. Got another from storage, plugged in the cable, and it would be fine for the day. It was fine for the day, but not the next day. When this same girl came to work in the office, she again had this issue. At this point I was beginning to lean to her initial idea that a Windows update did screw something up. So I looked at the updates that were installed on the date she first had the issue and deleted all of them. Things were fine for 2 weeks, and then the same issue happens yet again. I go over, immediately check the installed updates, and there the 3 were again automatically installed. So I turned off automatic update and instructed her to not install updates and to call me if it asked to do so. Another 2 weeks later it again occurs, so again I check the updates, though this time they are not installed. So it was not caused by the updates. Now a half year before this happened, I had an HP laptop that had a similar issue being caused by a corrupt motherboard. So I prepare and do the initial troubleshooting HP support had instructed me to do. Make sure the latest BIOS is installed. See if all HP drivers etc. are up to date. After that was done, I gave back the laptop and instructed her to call me the minute the issue comes up again. So we'll send it to HP. So another week later it comes up again. I call HP Business Support, explain the issue, go over the troubleshooting I already did, and they agree that it looks like a mainboard issue and agree to send a technician to replace it. The technician comes the next day, replaces the main board, and all seems fine and dandy. Until 3 weeks later. You guessed it, the issue is back. At this point me and my IT support colleagues are at the end of our rope, and we were going over all what we tried when I noticed something. This girl is using the wired keyboard connected to the docking station, but she was not using the wired mouse. She was using a wireless mouse, so we asked about it. She said that was the same mouse she always used on her work post before the move. She took it home and the dongle for it was in her laptop, not the docking. And I knew this type of dongle, it was for a wireless desktop mouse and keyboard. A keyboard that was currently stored in a box with others stacked on top of it. After facepalming so hard it left an imprint and 15 minutes of searching and testing later, we found the keyboard paired to the dongle and finally solved her problem. Story 2. You fix printers, what about the internet? Been a while since I had anything to post. I used to work help desks and now I'm a field technician, working on various IT issues for many different businesses. Our company does places like large retail DIY stores, popular insurance places, large chain retail office supply stores, banks, convenience stores, and a handful of other name brand stores. What I love about the job is that 90% of the troubleshooting is already done. Parts were ordered and sent to the site. All we have to do is swap out parts and make sure it works. To keep it short, I fixed a printer showing reset maintenance kit, easy enough, just a handful of parts that are most used inside the machine, 30-60 minutes fix, and then reset the counter. But for this store we are required to find a manager to sign for the work, not a biggie. Find this manager and she signs, but then has a tech question for me. I relish these most times, I'm just a curious person by nature and love new questions. Okay, so the printer is fixed. Thank you for that, But another question before you leave. In the back area the Wi-Fi, no wait, the internet is kinda slow back there. So customers trying to use special promotions or military ID can't get discounts and it's causing them to get angry and leave. Is there any way you can, making unknown hand signals at me, bump up the signal? Had to explain we are technically a third-party company inside the store. We don't have that kind of control. I received a log-on to a part of their stores for a printer management page long ago that has never worked, regardless of whatever browser I used, and we aren't allowed to use store computers at all. Told her she'd need to reach out to her internal IT guys, as they have a team specifically for those kind of issues. She tells me, oh okay, I thought I'd ask. I'm also just asking any tech I see in the store about it. Okay, but those other field techs will be like me and not have access to anything network related, but you do you. Story 3. The printer I regret fixing. I'm a printer and copier tech, currently taking care of a couple large hospitals. I went to a surgery department to fix a printer that user described as printing colors weird and now jammed. I arrive, power it off, and unplug it. I fix a pretty standard problem that causes jamming, paper backstop was out of place, and power it back up. Now, to the issue of the colors, once powered up, the held-up print jobs start churning out. As one does, I pick them up and start to study them for color issues. These are pictures that have printed, but I can't figure out what they are pictures of, so I don't know what the colors are supposed to look like. I ask the nurse, what is this? She says, always sugar, that's a butthole. My brain is instantly horrified, and I don't want to look again, so I say, oh God. Okay, well does it look okay to you? The nurse replies, nah sweetie. That's why he's here. What? What? Me, I meant the colors. Never mind, I'm going to print the fruit. Story 4. I emailed you the other way. I work as the only IT person in a company with multiple 3-5 employee office locations spread around the state. This story happened about 15 years ago, but it still makes me laugh. All of our operating software is web-based and hosted by third parties. There is almost nothing any of the employees in these offices can do if the internet is down. Most of the employees are hourly, so with no internet, they are basically just sitting there on the clock doing nothing. Back then, for some reason, the most common cable ISP in this area was providing cable modems that had a button on the front that toggled the internet on and off. The modem didn't shut off, it just deactivated the internet connection. Despite the modem being in an out-of-the-way location on top of a filing cabinet, this button would occasionally get bumped when people would put stuff on the cabinet, etc. I would get a call from this office every couple months about the internet being down. First thing to ask was always, is the internet light on the modem lit up? No. Okay, push the button on the front of the modem. The manager at this particular location was kind of a moron. They had personally been through this several times and should have figured out by now to check the modem before calling, but never did. The office locations open around 8 a.m. and close around 5 p.m. One day, it is almost 5 p.m., I'm just packing up to go home and I get a phone call from the moron manager. Hey, were you able to figure anything out about our internet? I respond, I have no idea what you are talking about. Is something wrong with your internet? Moron manager replies, yeah, it was down this morning when we came in and it has been out all day. I thought you would have it fixed by now. I said I didn't have any voicemail or phone call from you today. How was I supposed to know that your internet was out? Moron manager replies, oh, I'd emailed you. I pause for a second before replying, how would I get an email from you when your internet was out? Moron manager pauses for just a moment and says, oh, I emailed you the other way. I still don't know what moron manager meant by I emailed you the other way. This was before most people had email on their cell phones. I asked what they meant but never did get a straight answer. They obviously knew they had screwed up. I said probably would have been a good idea to call me or your boss, or really anyone when I didn't reply to you after a little while. What exactly have you and your employees been doing all day with no internet? Moron manager replies, oh, I had them working on other things, sure. After getting through that, it took about 10 seconds to say, is the internet light green on the modem? No. Okay, push the button. Amazingly, I never got another phone call from that location about the internet not working as long as Moron Manager worked there. Even after 20 years in IT, I emailed you the other way remains one of the dumbest things anyone has ever said to me.